If you've been earning well for years but feel disappointed when you look at your savings, today's recording is for you. Hi, I'm Heidi Carter. I'm a money mindset coach and guide. And we're going to dive right in to overspending and savings. The topic today is healing overspending so that money can stay in your savings. So, first, we're going to dissect what does savings mean exactly, energetically. So, what savings means energetically, it means many things, but one of the main things that it means is that you're allowing money to stay. Because spending is releasing money, it's letting it go, right? And savings is allowing money to stay. So you have to remember as you go through this process two things. Number one, everything you do with money is emotional. The second thing I want you to remember is to open up your compassion for yourself because this is a very emotional topic. So as you're listening, just remember that you have to be compassionate with yourself and meet yourself where you are, because you're here to heal your patterns. And so you have to have compassion for that. But if you haven't been able to allow money to stay and accumulate in your savings to the level that you desire and know is wise, right? It's time to take a deeper look. And I do this through three questions. I'm going to teach you these three questions that you can ask yourself. Okay. So the first question that I'm going to have you ask yourself is, am I willing to thrive in all aspects of my life? And that's kind of a more broad question, but it's really valid here because if you create your own life, and that means you've created what's in your savings account or what's not in your savings account, as well as other areas of your life. You may be thriving in some and not in others. It's really awesome to just kind of open it up and ask yourself, you know what? Am I willing to begin thriving in all aspects of my life? So be especially gentle and compassionate with yourself here, because you're going to notice, again, certain areas that you're thriving and certain areas that you may not be thriving in. But you can begin to just journal and ponder and think about, what are the reasons that I'm holding myself back from thriving in all areas of my life? And then from there, we can dive in more specifically to savings. And I want you to ask yourself this second question. Am I willing to thrive with my savings? Not am I thriving at this moment, but am I willing to thrive with my savings? And whatever's been in your past with savings, I want you to write yourself a forgiveness check and just say, here's a check of forgiveness. You can forgive yourself for whatever's happened in the past with your savings. And let today be a fresh start. Let today be a new beginning. And if you are willing to claim and to say out loud and write in your journal, I'm willing to thrive with savings. That's a huge first step, because what it is it's an intention. And what it is it's a commitment to yourself, to your savings. So when you ask yourself this question, am I willing to thrive with savings? Yes, you're going to have to go deeper with yourself here. And you might start by just listing out all the reasons that you are willing to thrive with savings. And those will just like flow off your tongue. They'll just flow off your hand if you're writing them, right? Because you know them by heart. You want to save in case of emergency arises, right? You want to feel peaceful about money. You want to know that stable money is in your savings, so you can know that it's full and you can sleep better at night because you're like, money's got me, money's here. And it can just give you that sense of peace. You want savings to be really full. You want your savings to be really full so that you can use it as a jumping off place to begin investing more and to be more aggressive with your investing. And there's lots of other reasons. I was mainly referring to like your prudent reserve emergency savings right there. And that's kind of the focus of this whole sharing today. However, there's other categories that you save for that have emotions for you too. Whether it's adventure, going on a trip that you're saving for. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? But for the sake of today, we're mainly focusing on your emergency savings, your prudent reserve. So now that you've listed out or talked about the reasons that you want a stronger savings, it's time to do a little bit harder part and list the reasons that you don't want to save. Because we are creatures of choice. And if something has not been created in our lives, even though a part of us wants it, that means there's another part of us that doesn't want it or doesn't want to do it, right? So that's where the coaching and healing happens, in the places that you don't want to save. Because chances are you already do want to save more, right? But when you start looking at the places that you don't want to save, many of the reasons may be related to your desire to spend. And that's what we're talking about today, overspending. But it's okay. Go really slowly and be really present for yourself. This oftentimes goes back to childhood or growing up years or something negative that happened. So be so gentle, so compassionate. Carve out a time where you don't have anything else to focus on but this, right? So like I was saying though, chances are the categories that you're overspending in that are indeed keeping you from reaching your savings goals, they're all emotional. Overspending is always emotional. So let's look at what some of those reasons could be for your overspending. Maybe you overgive to your kids because you have personal reasons for wanting to be the best parent that you can be. Totally understand that. So if that's you, just acknowledge it to yourself. Yep, that's where my overspending happens. And I'm going to be gentle and compassionate with myself about that because I know that I'm doing an important job to be a good parent. Maybe you overspend in the category of self-care because you have taught yourself how to have self-care. You're like a self-taught self-care master, right? And giving yourself these self-care things or activities, whatever your self-care looks like, they make you feel happy. They make you feel confident. And I'm raising my hand here. Like, I definitely spend a lot in the self-care category. And that's wonderful. It shows that you're prioritizing yourself. It shows that you're taking care of yourself. It's just when it gets into the area of you're spending so much in that category that it's preventing you from savings and being financially well. That's when you need to look at, okay, what's the wound inside around that? What do I need to heal around that? But maybe it's neither of those things. Maybe you're obsessed with a hobby and that hobby takes a lot of money and you haven't developed the compassionate self-control to say yes to yourself sometimes and no to yourself at other times. And that is definitely a skill set that is worth developing because it allows you to save. Or possibly you feel great that you're earning well and you know that like the back of your hand, money's flowing in, not a problem. But you have guilt and shame somewhere deep inside. There's a piece of guilt and shame about allowing money to accumulate. So if this is you, it probably means that subconsciously, you're not necessarily doing it consciously, but subconsciously, you're pulling yourself back down to the lower amount of abundance and net worth, right? Your financial wellness, because lower feels normal. Lower feels comfortable. This would be the case if you're coming from a family that taught you that wealth is wrong or money is bad or wanting money is bad or wanting wealth is bad or wealthy people are greedy. So if you're earning on this high level but you have this shame about it, then subconsciously your brain is here to protect you, right? Your brain's here to protect you. And it's always working in under the surface in your subconscious. So your subconscious is going to, assert, is this safe? All this money is flowing in. Is this safe? It may not feel safe or comfortable. Maybe you've been doing it for several years, but that piece hasn't been healed. And so what's the quickest way to get rid of the money? It's to spend it, right? And now you're back down to a lower level of net worth because your net worth grows with you as your savings and investment grows and as your expenses stay reasonable or go down, right? When it's balanced. But when your savings and your investments are abundant and have a chance to grow. So that is definitely an area for healing if you just don't feel safe or comfortable having all that savings. Possibly you don't feel completely worthy of money. So when you earn well, maybe you don't spend it on yourself. Maybe you give it away. Maybe you give it away to causes that you love. And your brain, your conscious brain, can totally justify that. And this is especially valid for people that were taught that accumulating wealth is wrong or bad or evil, right? Or that wealthy people are bad or evil. And you have to really learn how to scrap all that and create your own definition of wealth. And one way that you may have overcome that and done that is the one way that you may have come to believe that it's okay for you to earn well is to justify it in your brain. Like, yeah, I'll earn well, but as I earn better, I'm going to give more away, which is actually brilliant. This is a brilliant strategy. If you're afraid you're going to earn more and just become greedy, to build in that giving so that you can see it every month. Say, no, I'm earning more and more, but I'm giving. Like, I'm generous. And so you're building that new cast of your definition of abundance, wealth, richness, whatever your word is, right? My word tends to be abundance or wealth. So that's what you have to do is you probably built that in the beginning, but now you have to look at it. Am I giving too much? Here's how you'll know if you're giving away too much. Do you have 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses saved in savings? If the answer is no, and you see that you're giving tons of money every month to your causes, then you can know that you're giving at the expense of your own financial wellness. So what could happen is that you pull in all your energy into savings for a certain amount of time. Let's say 3 months or 6 months. Start small and build on that. If you need to go to 1 week at a time or 1 month at a time, whatever the time frame is, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you commit. You commit to, I'm ready to heal my savings patterns. I'm willing to change and heal my spending patterns. I'm willing to create financial wellness. And so that's the third question, right? Am I willing to heal my overspending emotions and patterns so I can meet my abundant savings goals? And if you answered yes to this, then you can begin today. You can begin by writing down all the categories that you overspend in with so much gentleness and compassion, and work through the emotions that are keeping you there. There's always an emotional reason why you're doing this and why you're creating this in your own life. And so this requires you to take a certain responsibility. It requires you to do the work. It requires you to do the inner work. It requires you to do the healing work. It requires you to do the money work. But I can promise you, if you have the willingness to dive in and do the healing work, you can heal your overspending patterns and you can attain the savings that you desire. So much love.